We saw a lot of sharks on the first one that came that close to me.
That right there, haven't seen that for a while. That's the sun, because it's not even 6 o'clock in the morning and we're off to Sipadan today. The visas came through, our passes, and little surprise, on the second day we're off diving.
It's just us chickens, nobody here in Sipadan but us. Woohoo!
So this is Sipadan, and I guess we should give it a little bit of an introduction to those who don't know it. We are supposed to keep our masks on. However, we've got here to check in at 6:30 in the morning and no one is here, no one's up, there's no one in the office, so we're just hanging around for a bit. Sipadan is considered to be one of the best dive sites in the world. It is the one that Jacques Cousteau said that you could do more diving in 3 days here than you could do in 3 months elsewhere in the world. And it makes up part of the triangle, so there's a range of dive sites that go up to the Philippines and down to Australia, and this kind of makes up that triangle.
Last night the turtles came in and they laid their eggs. You've got tracks running from the sea all the way up the beach to the island, and they lay all the way around the island, including right here where we all have our meals. And they're really good here. They have a little hatchery in the middle of the island, so they go around during the night and in the morning. They dig all the eggs up and they put them to safety where they're kept so that as many as possible can hatch, and then they'll release them at night. But as we came in on the boat, on the dive boat, I could see all these tracks and I said, oh, people have been dragging their boats up the beach, but not at all. It's not dragged boats, it's turtles all the way around the island.
The island itself is protected. There are no residents on here apart from the military. 15-20 years ago they had issues with piracy, which comes from the neighbouring Philippines island. Because we are that close to the Filipino border, we can actually see a couple of the islands belonging to the Philippines here, and this was invaded, shall we say. But anyway, after this incident, the Malaysian government said, right, that's it, we're closing it off, you can no longer stay here. So you can only come here by special permission. Sipadan is more famous for the bigger picture as opposed to the macro stuff. So this is where you can expect to see turtles, schools of jackfish, so the big stuff. So we've got the wide angle lens on the camera. Let's see what we find.
This morning here at Sipadan, our first dive was White Tip Alley, and we saw four very large schools of Bumphead parrotfish, and as big as me, with the biggest teeth I've ever seen in my whole life. so exciting. I just click, click, click on the camera the whole way. It was great. And I'm sure Jamie was the same.
Yes, yep. They look quite aggressive, but of course they're not. They're very passive. Previously, when we'd seen them, there were so many other people here that, of course, they got scared off. So the fact that we have the entire island to ourselves and all of the dive spots to ourselves, and by that I mean 5 people, Sharon, Lindsay, Liz, myself and Riddell, our guide.
We are so lucky and privileged to be here before the big rush. So they've opened the island just as the interstate travel has opened, but before the hordes start to arrive. So we got it at a very good deal, promotional deal, and it's literally just the 4 of us here.
Because tourism hasn't properly opened up yet, we knew that there weren't going to be that many people here. What we didn't know was that we were going to be the only people here, and that is worth its weight in gold. And we will treasure these memories for the rest of our lives.
We saw a lot of sharks on the first one that came that close to me, and then we saw quite a few turtles on the second one, so I'm just completely made up. Whatever we see this time is just going to be a bonus. One of Sipadan's most famous but least visited sites is the ghostly Turtle Tomb. First discovered by Jacques Cousteau in the 1980s, its depth ranges from 17 to 23 metres. A complex cave system with a series of side tunnels at different levels, daylight quickly disappears as you turn the dogleg after the entrance and move through the first large chamber. This dive shouldn't be attempted by beginners, and there's no doubt that our guide would not have taken us into the cave if he didn't believe we were all proficient enough to enter. The floor is covered in a thick layer of dusty white sand, so good buoyancy is essential in order to avoid kicking it up and losing visibility and orientation. In fact, one of the theories for why there are so many turtle skeletons in the cave is that they get lost, and since there's nowhere to surface, they drown. Another theory, and one that I have to say I prefer, is that it's simply somewhere they go for their final resting place. It's a haunting place, one that I'll never forget and feel privileged to have experienced firsthand.
Third day, this morning I did a wreck dive. It's a boat called Blue Liberty and it's a purposely sunk boat just off the house reef, averaging around about 23 metres. I think it's down to 25, but around about 23, and it was a the only way I can describe it, cinematic experience. And after doing the dive, there was a few nudies just to finish it off. That's the man we have to thank. Sharon, how was the dive this morning?
Wow.
Sharon has her own personal classification system for her dives, and if it's wow, and then if it's highlighted in yellow on top, it's a double wow. And this morning's dive was a double wow, and it was thanks to Radel that we were able to get in the incredible dive. Check out the footage. Close encounters with turtles, you cannot beat that. Big eels, sharks, what else, all sorts of things. This evening I'm doing a night dive, so I'm going off with one person just to do a night dive on the house reef. down at the dive centre, obviously they are really set up for this whole diving experience, and so you have a routine of putting your tray of possessions in the lock-up there, and at the end of the night you put your fins, your mask and your weight belt. So you each have your own basket which you keep throughout the duration, which is very useful. And just in front of me here you can see the little pools they've got, and each one is for different items, so snorkel and mask and that one, special one for camera just there. It's really well set up, nice and easy. The other thing to note is you've got these military posts at each corner of the resort. So there's one behind me just there, there's one over there, and I think there's one over there, and they're all armed. But of course the reason for this is because we are so close to the Filipino border. As I've explained to Kapala-Sipadan, once was a dive resort location in that you could stay on it, but of course you can no longer do that because of the problems they had there. So it's a very real threat. It is all around us, but I have to say we've felt very safe, and more importantly extremely comfortable and well looked after by all the staff here, and of course the crew that we've been diving with. That's not going. This is going to be stuck here for weeks.